Today we have Liza Overton from New Hampshire. She is describing her journey down to Nashville from New Hampshire, how she got into singing down on Broadway and doing that for 6 years, and then transitioning into real estate and putting a team together from there. Tune in. It's a great one.
It's awesome.
Liza, welcome to Backstage Agents. Thank you for being here with us today. It's been a hot minute since I've seen you. You have a new baby at home.
I do.
How is that going?
It's going really well. I know it's been over probably 6 months since I've seen you.
Yeah. It was funny. I saw you right at the beginning of the year for a closing with a mutual friend, and then fell off the planet. You went right
off the planet.
Yeah. right into having a baby. So it's awesome. I'm glad to hear it's going well.
Yeah.
It's great to see you.
It's good to see you too.
Been too long. So you're from New Hampshire, and you came to Nashville how many years ago?
Almost 10 exactly. It'll be 10 in October.
Wow, that's so wild. I'm in double digits now too, and it's kind of freaky to think about.
I know.
I'm on year 13, so
the year 10 to me was always kind of this big number, and now
it's because everybody calls it a 10-year
town.
Yeah.
And you blink,
I know.
and it's 10 years.
Yeah.
I know. 10 years, a couple different careers, and
Yeah, exactly. And it's 10 years. I was 10 years into music, and I was like, man, I thought I was supposed to be making money by now, but I'm still broke.
Hence we're here.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So what initially brought you down from New Hampshire?
What brings us all to Nashville?
That's fair.
Music. Yeah, music. I, was singing up in these tiny little, open mic bars, and I knew I just wasn't going to stay in New England. So whether something happened or not, I was leaving. And so visited Nashville, loved everything about it, and packed up, the fall after graduating college and moved right down.
Nice. Is there any reason why you knew you weren't going to stay in New Hampshire?
It's so funny because growing up, I think everyone would have bet I stayed. I was really involved. My family's up there. I'm the only one gone. But through college, I just kind of had this, growth moment of being like, I think there's just more for me out there.
Yeah.
And not many people leave. The furthest I think I see people go a lot of times is Boston.
Yeah.
I don't know why I would move to a city to have the same weather that I have back home.
And pay a whole lot of money.
Lot more. And I think I kind of always knew I would do something non-traditional work-wise. I have a psychology degree, but the idea of going on to grad school after college didn't feel like the right move. Yeah. So it kind of just all lined up that an adventure was my next
Nice. Move. I know, coming from Wisconsin, I was just like, I have to get out of here. I don't care where I go. I need to go somewhere that's not here.
It's a Moana theme.
Yes.
Yeah. I was, get out and fly my way. It's funny. I didn't decide on Nashville. It was like a whim decision to come to school down here. So it was like one of those where it's like, I can go anywhere. I just can't be here anymore. So I think some people are like that. I just got to get out.
And you can either go back if it doesn't work out, or maybe you find somewhere else to land. But Nashville has a way of holding on to you once you're here.
It does. And even through all the change that we've seen in the last 10, 15 years, I still love it.
I do too.
It's home at this point. I don't think I'll ever leave. Or I'll at least always keep property here, because it's just such a cool and unique place, and so many great people are here. So when you moved down, you wanted to do music.
Yeah.
And explain diving in and what you were doing, what your goals were.
Goals. Plan.
I'm sure you were wide-eyed and bushy-tailed.
I was. I moved down. Everything has been so serendipitous in Nashville for me. Like, if there's one word for me in Nashville, it's that. I visited, found a roommate while touring an apartment in the lobby. We were both touring studio apartments, and we were like, we're both young, same age. Like, let's just sign a 2-bedroom lease. Our families will be more comfortable. So we signed on the spot a 6-month lease, ended up living together for 4 years.
That's awesome.
And moved down, rented in Germantown, walked down the street, got a waitressing job at Germantown Cafe.
Yep.
The bartender at that time, Jason, was also bartending at the old Paradise Park.
Memories.
The sticky Paradise Park. And, what are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, every band wants a girl. So I'll just kind of ask around over the next week and, come in on the night I'm, bartending, and we'll just start introducing you to people. And I was like, coming from New England, I was like, what is this? This
People are nice.
Yeah, collaborative, very kind, investing and interesting, in you. And so went in, ended up getting linked up with a band that played late night Paradise Park Fridays and then late night Saturdays at the stage. And I sang 3 songs a night.
At the stage?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And ran the tip jug.
Yep.
Nice.
And I did that for a while and just kind of, like you said, wide-eyed, taking it all in. I feel really lucky to have studied them for so long and really how they ran a show and entertained and all that stuff. And then eventually the time came that I was like, man, I want to play more than 3 songs a night. And they were the same 3 songs. And it just so happened that Harold Allen at the time was taking on a co-front. He didn't want to do the 4 hours by himself anymore. It is lucrative to have female and male, on the stage. And so he changed everything for me. I mean, he took me on. He really treated it like a job for me. If you want to do this seriously, it's not just like fun.
Yeah.
And gave me a set list to learn and would check in, on our shows, throw me a song that was on the list, see if I learned it.
Yeah.
And just a great band backing him that really kind of took me under their wings of live music and playing with a full band. And if you missed that intro, they're going to just play it again for you and give you kind of the, nod and really coached me. And then watching Harold be the front man that he is taught me everything about entertaining.
Did you, when you were growing up, had you had any experience playing with a band before?
No.
Okay, so Nashville was your first experience. That's similar to me, and I played in church and did those kinds of things, but I didn't do the traditional, start a garage band, learn Led Zeppelin covers, do any of that. So when I came down here, that was a whole new thing for me. And it's
a lot of components, that you've got to learn how to figure out. And then you realize they're all looking to you as the lead and you're going, wait, what?
Was Jelly Roll playing down there when you were?
Not at the time. I don't remember him being down there, but we could have missed each other, by a couple
he
years.
Jelly Roll quite
yet.
Not quite. And when you started playing down there, Broadway is, at least I feel, it's a completely different animal now than it was back then.
Yeah.
And can you explain some of those differences from then to now and kind of how it's evolved over time from when you got in to just to now?
Yeah. I mean, this was pre-celebrity bar era, which I think is a big difference right there in terms of the people that were being drawn to Nashville at the time that I was downtown. I'm trying to even think. Dierks Bentley's was the first celebrity bar, and that was in my last 2 years of playing downtown. Yeah. And I was down there almost 6 years. So the vibe was different. I mean, you really just had the Tootsie circuit, the stage circuit, Paradise Park. And that was really the main spots. And then Crazy Town kind of opened and fizzled. And you kind of had these flash in the pans of successful bars, and then they'd be closed and turned into something else. And the people were different. It was a lot less bachelorettes, bachelors, and it was a lot of people really coming just for music. Yeah. I think it was Music City. People loved coming and being able to see so much live music in such a compact city and area. And it's all free. I mean, where do you go that you get that much free live music? No covers and stuff like that.
I forgot there was a time before bachelorette parties.
Yeah. And
then it happened.
There was, and it's wild to think about because it wasn't that long ago either. I remember going down there in college and watching bands every now and then, and it's a different, it was a different animal entirely, where it was just it was way more seedy. There were tourists there, but it wasn't a ton of tourists. Definitely not a ton of bachelorette parties or bachelor parties. Like, it was just it was still a tourist thing, but it was less Vegas like, and more kind of like this underground kind of cooler vibe. And you can find some great players down there too, which I feel is something that has changed for the negative. As time has gone on and there's just been an influx of things. Still find great players down there, but the whole thing kind of shifted. And I know when I started going down there, it's like, I can't do this. I don't know the tunes. I'm not the player. Like, this isn't my vibe at all. And that's what's funny too. It's like there's a very different, like, being on the road and then playing down on Broadway.
Two different worlds.
Yeah, they're two different skill sets entirely. Did you ever want to do the being an artist thing, writing your own material? Was there ever a time where that was something that you were chasing after?
Never was into writing, but then had the thought of, well, Nashville's got plenty of writers. Maybe we can link up and find something. But it kind of quickly fizzled for me, that side of it. And I don't know if I just got so sucked into Broadway. And I did realize I really just like performing. Like, I was not someone that felt my soul was getting sucked by playing covers for a living, where a lot of people who are artists or players, that's like their tough part with Broadway is, I'm playing these covers day after it, day in and day out. And it's not fulfilling to me. I want to be playing my music. I didn't have that. And so luckily, I think that's what let me keep being on Broadway for so long and just have fun doing my shows. But no, I didn't, dive into that side of it. And I'm thankful now that I didn't, because I think it would have been much harder to get out and pivot into a different career. I think it would have grasped onto me much harder.
That's rare. What you just said there, that's rare.
I mean, even being on that side of it on the road, it's like quitting a drug.
Yeah.
For a lot of different reasons, but it's so much of your ego gets tied up into it.
When you put so much into it, and that's what makes it an art. But if that's harder to quit.
And then it was before social media.
Yeah, a big part.
It was social media, but not like it is today.
It was pre-TikTok.
Yeah. Pre-TikTok.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Which is so wild. How that's changed the industry so much in the last, really since the pandemic, when that popped off, and TikTok did, and it's the whole thing has just changed. Well,
but that's, across industries. I think like we're facing that in real estate now too, which is this like content, like what you do isn't enough. You also have to be this content creator and be on video, and you can't just be a good performer, a good bass player, a good real estate agent. You've got to be more and
star.
That and entertainment almost, but I'm glad it was pre all that, and going back to the changes of it, that's eventually what made me feel like my time had come. The crowds had changed, and I stopped playing late nights, I don't know, 2-3 years into playing downtown. It's not my crowd, not my vibe. The money's horrible. The money's way better in the mornings and early afternoons. And so I even had, these great morning, mid-afternoon shifts, making good money. But when a bachelorette party's rolling in at 10 a.m., plastered, it does start to suck your soul a little bit. And I started seeing, I guess to me, just like the worst of humanity. And I was like, I've got to get out of here. I can't. I can't have these things on me, of people leaving their drunk friends passed out on my stage and me going, well, hey, are you going to do something about this? But the people changed, the crowds changed. And
was that a gradual shift, or was that a pretty quick shift in the crowds changing? Because for me, I can pinpoint like definite shifts and just like people coming to town, the vibe changing, all that. And one of the first ones was when the show Nashville came out. That was the first big one. And then I think the second big one was all the name bars.
I think it was the named bars. Just in my timeline, Nashville, I think, had come out, but was such a huge reason that people, I think, started to fall in love with Nashville and want to come here. The celebrity bars, in my opinion, changed everything.
Gotcha.
Too many of them. And like you said, with the decline of talent, and it's not to say, like you said, there are still fantastic acts downtown. I mean, a lot of my friends are still, down, making great livings, doing great shows. But when you have 4 floors of music on every bar downtown, you just need to, fill stages.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do?
Yep.
It's not going to be empty. Someone's going to be up there. Mm-hmm. But I think the time of like honing your craft and creating a set list and knowing what top requests you need to know and, being so secure in being a Broadway performer that someone can throw the new Jelly Roll song at you and you go, I don't know it, but we'll figure it out and pull it off like pretty well. That's all gone. They're throwing people on stage, paying them now, not much, and they're not honing, the craft enough before you got it. We had to earn that. We had to earn our spots downtown, and there are now so many spots that I don't think you have to earn them quite as much.
Yeah, I've seen that on the touring side of things as well. It seems like there has been a real shift, and I think some of this has been social media induced, where it's not a craft thing anymore. People are just posting and performing to look cool. They're focusing more on the optics of it than the actual craft of it. And I've noticed that shift: music, real estate, touring, Broadway, kind of everywhere, where it's just like, man, like nobody's honing, not nobody, but people just aren't honing their craft like they used to. Like you used to have to, like you said, earn your spot in some of these places. And I've seen a lot of that go away, where in some regard it's become a race to the bottom because of what things pay now.
Right.
And it's just been an interesting evolution to watch all of that happen. And like you would think people coming to town would be good and there's more money going around, and that's somehow the opposite effect has happened. And it's just been very weird to watch all that.
Yeah, it's been a interesting shift for sure.
But so you are not doing the Broadway thing anymore.
No, I'm not a new mom down on Broadway. Coming home.
I know your shift coincided with the onset of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you were like me when you woke up one day on March and you were like, oh shit.
I don't have a job.
I don't have a job. Yeah. Everything that I planned for this year, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm now at the mercy of the federal government, which is never a spot that you want to be. And so can you just walk me through the pandemic and kind of the onset of that, what you were feeling, and then how you ultimately got to this place of diving into real estate?
Yeah. So I was starting to be ready to pull away from Broadway. Anyways, my personal life was really settling down, and it just didn't feel like those worlds were meshing anymore. And so it was on my mind, but then what? Do I go back to grad school and finish a degree?
I concur.
No. I don't see myself in a 9-to-5 ever. So, what is this going to be? And just kind of mulling that over. And then it feels like, COVID just happened. I mean, we all got smacked with it. Everything shut down for those initial 2 weeks. And then the thought being, this isn't going to be over in 2 weeks. And just kind of sitting, in my apartment downtown going, I've got to figure something out. And funny enough, someone who came and saw one of my shows one time is a very successful brokerage owner down in Dallas. And he saw me perform, and we had a great time with his group. And he said, well, if you ever get tired of music, you should really consider real estate. And I was like, oh, like spoken like a real estate agent. And he was like, I'm serious. Like, you're very charismatic. You know, you're people facing, just throwing it out there. And so I was sitting in my apartment and I was like, it's kind of low risk to get into. You got to start with just passing the tests and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm just going to try it. I'll just see if I can, pass the test, see if I want to get licensed, and, low cost, no risk. And so, called my family, borrowed the money to take the real estate course. And then had the time because of COVID. I mean, I finished that course in, 2.5 months.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just all day, every day. That's all I did. Mm-hmm. And then took my test, passed the first time. And then while I was taking the course, I was talking to anyone who would talk to me about real estate. So had a couple friends. And then being still Nashville, everyone's just so happy to help you with no strings attached. And so everyone who I talked to, well, if that's interesting to you, let me connect you with Aaron, or let me connect you with this person, and then you can talk to them. And so all these doors kind of started opening, and realized I wanted to start on a team so I could really kind of learn, talk about honing your craft. I wanted to do it right. Like, I really wanted to learn and be successful at the start and not fumble my way through it. And so I started interviewing with all these teams, and that was kind of my first experience of, I was interviewing them, but they were interviewing me. Yeah. And I didn't really know how to navigate that very well. Mm-hmm. And it was a very kind of interesting growth moment for me. But I ended up finding this team that I really liked. They were sales psychology based, very interesting to me. And so I joined them. And, with their help and just kind of putting my nose down, I ended up doing, I think, like 27 transactions my first year in real estate with them.
Yeah. I mean, I know people who have gotten their license and are going to do 0 deals this year because of the market. So doing...
Well, no one wants to ask for help or start, in a position that, you're not making as much as you could. Mm-hmm. But for me, that's just a cost to learning how, to do something right.
Will the team remain nameless, or?
Yes.
Okay. It's on a super team.
Yeah.
Power team. Anyway.
No, it was the Helton Real Estate.
Okay.
And they were great. Worked with them for 13 months, and then very respectfully and lovingly, parted ways to go independent, and just gave me a lot more control over my own business. And
it's a typical journey.
Yes. You build them up, they spread their wings and kind of fly off. And I just wanted to run a very simple, people-focused business. And a team doesn't always jive with that because it's so, numbers-based, and they've got bottom lines and all this stuff. And I just run a, bare bones, past client referral-based business.
Yeah. You mentioned in there talking about feeling like you were getting interviewed for the first time, as well as interviewing them. That's something also with my switch into this. It's very odd, just the recruiting side of it. And for the first time, I remember going in and sitting down, and these people were telling me more about their company than I was telling them about myself. And I was like, whoa, this is weird.
It's a weird dynamic,
because music is the opposite. And I think especially on the playing side, where you're just like, I'll do anything for a gig.
Yeah.
And so it's very weird to have that switched, and then somebody talking to you, and then you being the piece of value, because all of a sudden you're making
them money. Yeah.
And that was a really interesting dynamic. How did you navigate that when you...
Not well. It took me a while to figure out, because, the way I viewed it from that first standpoint was, well, I'm interviewing to be on their team. They need to offer me the position. But then it kind of became clear that I could have gone with any team. I was going to get offered the position on any team. And then I kind of had this shift of, okay, now I really need to think about what I want out of this and who's going to fit that best. And that's probably what ultimately got me with Helton, is they were very we're just here to help you make the right decision. Like if it's us, great. If it's not us, also great. Because if it's not us, you know, not that we don't want you, but we want people to find their right fits because that's better for everybody, which that's a great kind of reverse psychology way of getting someone to be, you know, comfortable with you. And so I ended up being between these two teams, and I had decided to go, you know, with Helton, and they coached me, or I had to ask them to coach me of how to let this other person down. Cause that's how I feel. That's just how I am. I hate letting people down or disappointing people. And I knew that they wanted me on their team. And I think it took me like 3 conversations to get it out and get it through that I was going with a different option. And part of that was this other team was very, we can always find a way to make it work. What do you need? We'll get it done. Almost salesy in a way.
Yeah. Did you have an exit interview?
Luckily, from Helton?
Yeah.
We had an exit lunch, which was really nice.
See, that's kind of unique. Like you can ask, you can request that in Tennessee. Like we're here to have our exit interview.
Interesting.
Our last chance to save you or to get.
And it was, I mean, they came back, you know, can we shift things around or, you know, let's, you know, renegotiate, blah, blah, blah. But I think at some point you're just too far apart. And like I said, I think our ultimate goals, you know, were just different. I'm not here to be a team owner. I'm not here to be a mega agent. I'm here to make a very comfortable living doing something I really like to do that gives me a ton of flexibility, which now is, you know, a mom and I've got a 14-year-old stepson. Like that's my big why. You talk about your big why of what fuels you. That's me. You know, I'm working to live, not living to work.
Yeah, that's something that I've dealt with as well. It's like, what do I want to be in this? Because real estate, very much like music, you can take it a million different ways. And there are guys who want to make $1 million a year. Not one of those people. I want to make a comfortable living and make sure every deal feels like they're getting the best of my attention and go from there. But that's what's so cool about it is you have all those different options available to you in real estate. And it takes a while to figure out what you want to do. I even remember in music, it took me years to figure out, okay, what do I even
want out of this?
Of this? What kind of music do I want to play? You move to town and you're like, I just want to play.
Yeah.
That's
whatever will get me there.
And then you realize really quickly that maybe that's not exactly what you want to be doing, and you kind of narrow it down. And it's been fun in the real estate world to do that as well. It's like narrow it down and figure out how to build that business. And that's what's so cool about having that flexibility and that entrepreneurship thing, as much as I think that word is overdone these days.
Well, and I was so nervous to go on my own because I was really linked to the team. Like I had a really good partnership with them, and that's what so much of my success came from. And then one of my mentors just said, "Are you living?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Are you breathing?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Do you talk to, I don't know, 5-10 people a day?" I was like, "Yeah, probably." She goes, "You can do anything." Like that's all it takes. And even if it's not your most successful year, you know, right out of the gate, are you going to be able to survive? Yes. And so that's what kind of got me out on my own.
Out on your own, yeah. Now, when you jumped into real estate, what skills did you find from Broadway and performing and just navigating the craziness that the music industry can be? What skills did you find that translated well over to real estate and helped you a ton?
Yeah, I think it was helpful that I didn't go from like a very structured 9 to 5 to being this freelance worker. I think there's an element of never being in, you know, a very strict, you know, for Broadway, if you don't want to play a show, that's fine, but you're just not making money that week. And real estate's the same way. If you don't want to do whatever your activities are, or, you know, I'm not saying you got to hit the phones or but whatever your thing is that's going to generate you business, if you don't do it, that's fine, but you're not going to make any money. And so I think that translated really well. I think just an overall like hunger, like being hungry for something and just knowing that you can work really hard at something and it's not maybe just going to be super easy right away. Making your own schedule, being able to stick to a schedule and being self-disciplined with that, I think was helpful. And then I think mostly just being people faced, you know, being so focused on other people and how their experience is and what they're feeling and how you can make their experience better. I mean, that was what Broadway was for me. You know, yeah, it's just playing a song, or yeah, it's just, you know, indulging a request or this or that. But, you know, I would have people that came to my shows on Fridays, and I would play 3 shows on Fridays, 2 shows on Saturdays, and they would be at every show for the rest of the weekend. And it's just because you made them feel, you know, yeah, they like your performance, but you made them feel a certain way. You made them feel special. I loved talking with my crowd. I loved running the tip jug. I had no problem doing that because that was your only chance to really be kind of intimately face to face. And so I think just, you know, being able to focus on other people and make them feel, if you've got a room of 100 people, you know, how are you going to make each person feel like they're happy to be there?
Yeah, that's a skill. The best performers in the world, they can make that room, can make a person in that room feel like they're the only person in that room. And that is such a rare skill, to just have that and be able to work a room and then be that people facing entity of that artist or performer for the night and bring people in and have them latch on to you. Because again, even then there were a million people down there performing, and so to have people continually come back when it's like generally people are in and out like for a drink, and it's like we got to hit 54 other bars tonight.
Yeah, or the grass is always greener. Like, we'll have one beer here, but then we're on to the next. And to get people to stop is definitely a challenge.
Yeah, so that's awesome that you had a real knack for that. I remember seeing you a couple of times down there. I think I got up on stage with you one time.
I think so.
Very early in my Ashley days. And it's so funny because
you guys played together?
Yeah, like not
like a full show, I don't think.
Yeah, but just like
did Christian have a long beard?
I think that was the beginning of the long beard.
The beginning.
Christian used to have a very long beard.
Yeah, it was long beard. And then after during the pandemic, it was like, well, I'm just gonna grow my hair out because I always wanted to, and those are dark days.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah,
a lot of
alcohol up, hair
out.
Yeah, it's funny. I always tell people now, it's like if you see the beard and the hair come back, something is wrong, and check in on me.
Ask me if I'm okay.
Yeah, ask me if I'm okay. It was the beard was funny because I don't mind the beard. That was when I auditioned for Ashley. It was everybody in the band had a beard, and I was like, well,
it's just the uniform.
Yeah, it's the uniform. So I got that. But the pandemic was like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And that's when I was like, I just don't care. The long hair's coming out. So
there you go. If there was a time for it, it was then.
It was then. And so you make this transition into real estate and super successful at it. It goes super well. It was funny. I was one of those people, like I was watching you make that transition. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I think I remember we had messaged back and forth a little bit because Ashley's record had come out.
Yeah.
And you were kind of getting in, and I told you my mom was a loan processor, and you're like, oh, I'm just figuring out how crazy the mortgage side of this business is. It's funny being in real estate now, looking at the music side of things, and like on music you have the artist and then you have everybody behind them on that, basically the team kind of making it go around, but the artist or the performer, the front person, is the star of that show. And I've looked at real estate very much the same now, where it's like you have the real estate agent who is quarterbacking this transaction. They're the star of the show. But you have a whole team of people behind you making everything go. Can you describe your process of finding those people and figuring that out, and how you've settled on the people that you use? Because I think you have an excellent team behind you. And I'm fortunate to every now and then.
Are you
get
complimenting
to be a part
yourself?
of that. I'm saying.
I say that to say.
Yeah.
All to say,
I'm great.
can you tell me? No.
Tell me
No,
how great I am.
I say that because I feel very fortunate that
I know what you mean.
you call me, and then just seeing the other people that you've used over the years and that I've gotten to work with as a part of that, that's been awesome too. But kind of how you zoned in on that and built that up, because I'm sure much like when you got down on Broadway, you found musicians you liked working with and musicians you didn't like working with.
Most definitely.
And just describe that process on the real estate side of it.
Well, like you said, I think like having a band backing you, I knew how important a team was, like of making you look good. Just like you said, you know, a bass player that's missing the notes is going to make you look bad. You might be singing the right words, but everyone knows something's off. So starting on a team, they had all their kind of preferred people well vetted. And so just kind of went with that. All great. I mean, really great people, really happy to educate me on the mortgage side, on title, and all that stuff. And then going out on my own was kind of this moment of, I still have all these people. I have a full Rolodex of people I can use and call. And then it was this kind of another big moment of, well, wait, people keep telling me that this is supposed to be kind of more mutually beneficial relationships. Like, not only do I need you to do a good job, how can we help each other, you know, in business? And so through different recommendations and, you know, you try a lender here and that might be a good fit or it might not be, but maybe they have a title recommendation that ends up being a good fit. So you kind of just fumble through it a little bit by, you know, someone might come to you and have a lender that they're using. And so that's your first experience working with them. And so through a little bit of trial and error, you meet a lot of new people. And then working with other agents on deals, you might say, you know, your transaction coordinator was amazing. You know, are they taking on more clients or, you know, anything like that? And you realize if you're going to do your role really well, everyone needs to do their role really well. And so once I got out on my own, which was pretty close timing to you.
Yeah, I think we were probably a year apart on it. So.
And so I had kind of just gotten my footing, and then you got licensed, and, you know, we just sat down to coffee and we were like, we want to do something kind of different and something that we both can feel really good about and are really passionate about. And for us, that's, you know, obviously helping musicians grow their wealth and investments and stuff like that. But so that was how we got partnered. I have a fantastic title company, Phoenix Title.
Shout out to them. They are great.
They are amazing.
Love those dudes.
We go and do brewery closings, and, you know, really my complaint when I was talking to them was, go ahead.
No, I was thinking you said
that'd be fun.
We did a closing at a Hooters once. Wagon Wheel.
Yeah.
Did a closing for
there
us
you
at
go.
Hooters.
Yeah, get some wings, right? You're there for the food.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, but my complaint was, how is it that the, you know, whole real estate process happens and then you're closing in a conference room?
Yeah, it seems anticlimactic.
It's so anticlimactic. You know, the paperwork is already not fun.
Yeah.
So, and they were like, well, we'll meet you anywhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And so we'll close out to lunch. We'll close out getting a beer. We'll close at a coffee shop. Just anything that takes you out of that.
Yeah.
We're title attorneys and we're going to sit here and walk you through.
Yeah. I think that's what I appreciate about you the most as an agent and as somebody who interacts with a bunch of agents, is you have this perfect balance of, I am professional and I keep it together, but we're also going to make this fun and not just seem like this boring, stale transaction. And that's what I try to do. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a huge purchase for these people. It's a lot of debt. There's a lot of things to make sure on your end that they're buying a property that is not have issues with it, that they're not going to get a $20,000 bill in the first year because of something that wasn't caught. And so there are very serious elements to it, but I notice you do a good job of just keeping it light and fun and little things like that, where it's like, yeah, we're you're signing your life away right now, but let's have a few beers, good burger, and celebrate the fact that you're a homeowner.
And it is a celebration. I think that's what I felt was getting missed. It felt very anticlimactic. You were signing these documents. I hand you your key, and it's the last face-to-face I'll have with most clients until I see them, at a client event or something once a year. So I wanted something more personal, more celebratory, lighter. But talking about having a team, I'm only able to be, this positive, lighter person because of the team I have behind me. I don't have to worry about their financing. I have, you on that side. I don't have to worry about catching something, walking through the home, because my inspection company is so thorough and so willing to talk to clients, and I don't have to, put myself at risk because I've got that person for them to talk to. Transaction coordinator, I'm not out on my laptop at dinner sending documents because I have such a great person, on that side of things. I've got a second set of eyes. So I'm able to be that person and go, oh, let's close it. Tailgate Brewery, because everything else is set. Everything else is in place. But I appreciate that you feel that way. And I think my clients and other agents, cooperating agents, kind of feel that too.
Yeah, it's Nashville. So you have a lot of off-center creative people here. And again, it's a big transaction and there's a lot of serious elements, but that's what I've noticed about other places that are not Nashville is the whole thing just seems very used car salesman like, and that was kind of my goal, especially on the mortgage side. It's like it can only be so fun. You're taking out a loan, which is not fun, but to try and make it not just like as used car salesman and button up shirt and the whole thing, but still be good at the job and then get that client across the finish line, but do it in a fun way. And I think Nashville is a really cool place because you can get away with it where maybe on the East Coast that wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. So I do love that about Nashville and think it's a great place for, people like everybody sitting at this table to.
So you're still like a lead singer,
basically.
Yeah. You have to work the crowd, delegate. You know, you're. It sounds like what I'm hearing is you're an owner. A lot of people are operators. You're like an owner.
I appreciate that.
That's cool. That's an evolutionary thing.
Yeah.
And then I think about Broadway and the drunk people at 2:00 in the morning, and then I think about, well, that's like the father-in-law that comes out of nowhere. The deal's great, and then here comes the father-in-law. They always come to the
inspection.
Father-in-law, Well, wait a minute, I got to. He was a contractor.
I flipped a couple of houses. This doesn't look right to me.
It was going so great until he showed up.
Yeah, and there are bumps in the road. There's bumps in every deal, and it's only a celebration at the end because we can offer such a smooth process. I was just sitting with Hunter and Brooke a couple weeks ago, and he was like, I tried to get, so-and-so to give you a call, but they got, a sister-in-law, blah, blah, blah. And he kept calling me going, did this happen to you? Did this happen to you? Did this happen to you? And Hunter was like, I had to just tell him, like, dude, no.
Yeah.
It didn't. And I'm really sorry that you're experiencing, that, because it's not all the same. No. And every deal is not the same, but every agent's not the same either.
Yeah, and I think we make our money, like the easy ones are easy.
Yeah.
Like there's not much that you have to keep eyes on when the clients are good. It's those ones that go south or there's something tricky about it where that's where we make the money and show our value. And those are the ones that who you hire matters because it might go perfect. Like anybody might be able to close that loan or close that house. But there are the ones where it goes south and you have to move mountains to get it done.
And we're the buffer. Like, I want to feel the bumps in the road. I don't want my client to feel the bump in the road.
Yep.
Like, if we're on the phone having a little bit of a panic conversation, that's fine.
Yeah.
But they're not going to feel that.
You don't want the pilot on the airplane.
No, going,
oh my God.
Does anyone know what we're supposed to do here?
Did we have the mute button on? Oh, we didn't have the mute. Are we out of gas?
Are we on empty?
It's like in a recording studio when they have a mute button And the producer's talking smack, and then
this drummer sucks.
I was like, oh, I had the button off.
Yeah.
And they come out crying.
Yeah.
No, but it's, you take the heat. You take, you know, we're going to be having conversations. I'm only going with, if there's a problem, I am only calling my client once we have a solution.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing right there.
Yeah.
You know, because then you can say, then you can say, hey, we've run into this little bit of an issue. But, and some will come with, hey, we've got plan A, plan B, and plan C.
Yeah.
You know, so whatever's to come, we're good. Mm-hmm. And that's valuable to your clients, obviously, for their experience. But I think it's also really valuable being a cooperating agent because you're not also calling your cooperating agent going, hey, we've got a problem and I have no idea what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, and, you know, sometimes there are those ones where it's just like, yeah, it's not gonna get done.
Yeah.
And then being able to present that in a way, it's like, look, here's why, laying down why it's not going to happen, and being able to do that tactfully as opposed to ignoring the fact that, okay, now we have a problem that we can't surmount, and we just ignoring presenting that to the client or not doing it in a good way, because there's like everybody's had deals fall apart for one reason or another. And again, there's a way to handle that tactfully, and then there's a way just to kind of leave your client with a really, really bad taste in their mouth. Yeah. And so I think being able to handle that well is another thing that you do, and that's awesome. I really appreciate that about you. On
well,
that
and
side
same
of
to
things.
you, and same to, you know, the great agents that I get to work deals with. I mean, I'm closing a deal next week, and it was probably the hardest kind of reflex of inspection negotiations I've had in a long time, because COVID, all my clients got inspections, but you weren't really negotiating.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think we did 4 or 5 repair proposals back and forth. I mean, it was a lot of back and forth, and it felt like it was going to teeter on this one thing. And just to have another agent on the other side that you were like, we're going to get this figured out. We're going to get this, you know, to the closing table. And we close next week, and she texted me and she was like, oh, thank you for just, you know, being able to do your job. Because it's also, how are you going to bring what they're bringing to me, and then I have to bring it to my client and keep the deal, you know, in a positive way, because it can sour really easily, and then keep everybody moving towards the big goal, because it's easy to get down in those kind of little trenches of detail. So
now, you mentioned before about social media and making content and feeling like we all have to be content machines.
Yeah.
We're obviously sitting here making content right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that, for me, just in the music world, I always hated that. Like, I never posted videos of me playing, and I did the pictures and just to let people know I was alive and this is what I'm doing. But
that you played Madison Square Garden. Yeah. I don't know, these small little moments in life.
I have done that twice.
Yeah.
This is why we're doing this. Christian's ready to take ownership of how cool he is.
Yes.
Period.
I'm 0% cool. But how have you balanced that? Because I've come to a spot with it where it's like, I've found a way to do it that I like doing it.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly where you could stop. And that's how I feel.
Yeah.
If you've got to find a way that you like it. Like, to me, we're just sitting down, you know, we could be over at the coffee shop doing the same thing. It just so happens that
we have mics in front
recording
of us.
it. And
Nashville Cigar.
And we're at Nashville Cigar. Yeah. You've got to find a way to like it. If not, I think that's when it becomes very kind of draining and soul sucking. And, you know, I, for a long time, really bought into it. And then I kind of pulled that back because I was kind of not enjoying it. And, you know, I was going to these properties and filming these content videos and like kind of all for what was my take on it. But again, that goes back to how I run my business and my big why. I'm so content with my past clients and the business I have just from people who already know, like, and trust me, that I think creating this content to be so public facing to pull new people is a lot less of a drive for me. I think that's a big thing if you're trying to reach all these new people on Instagram or TikTok or something like that. So I pulled back. I pulled back, obviously having a baby and, stuff like that, and nothing has dipped for me. So it's just, not quite a big thing as I think I thought, but I am very, I post my closings, I post under contracts, but I mostly post a lot of personal.
Yeah.
And I find that's what people are most interested in anyways, is what's going on.
That was why we want to have you on the podcast, because we want to know about you.
Right.
Yeah.
And most people do.
Yeah.
Is a pretty house pretty? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them out there.
There's a lot of them out there. You can go on Zillow and click away your whole life.
Yeah.
I love, because when I post a closing, I'm really sharing how we got there, which is usually a nod to financing and title and what did we do kind of different. Like, they're closing on a house, but we also got all their closing costs covered. Or we got it $20K under
You don't
list.
want to take pictures of people at the worst part of the deal.
No.
It's like, oh, look,
That's not when you ask
inspection fell apart and put pictures like this.
That's not when you ask for your
Wife's
recommendation
crying.
either.
You're
position.
just on the phone,
Yeah.
just like I had pictures. I think it's that picture of Ben Affleck,
just
just
unsolved.
like outside smoking a cigarette.
Just-
Right.
Yeah.
With J-Lo walking
Contemplating
away.
his
Yeah.
life. And there are so many
That would be funny,
hard
actually.
moments that
Yeah.
you don't, post. Obviously, you're only posting the highlights
Just
of them.
unclosed.
Just fell.
Final second.
Fell apart.
Yeah.
Just fell apart sounds.
But and it's kind of like everything. Whatever your lead gen is going to be, if you hate it, you're not going to do it, which is not good either. So, just find, like you said, there's a million ways to be successful in real estate, whether you want to be making $1 million a year or you just want to do, your 10 transactions a year, whatever. And then with that, you can create however you want to do every aspect of this. And there are people who are really creative and love creating content, and that's amazing because there's a place for them, in real estate. But do you have to do that? I don't know.
Nice.
Hopefully not.
No.
Yeah. Well, Liza, I think this is a great spot to end this on that note. Thank you for being here with us. We really appreciate
Well,
it.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And it's good to see you again.
Good to see you guys. Hopefully more face-to-faces to come.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks, Liza.
You're welcome.